everyone. My name is Dawn Tatum. I'm the Director of CCSE Partnerships and Engagements at Kennesaw State University. And today I have joining me Michael Parlotto from InComm Payments. He is the VP of Emerging Technologies and also the head of their Go Studio. So thank you, Michael, for joining me today.
Happy to. Nice to talk to everyone.
Yeah, so we want to have just a brief chat on your experience with driving innovative projects. So what do you think is the driving force behind the need for innovation within your organization?
Well, specifically for InComm Payments, innovation has been core to what we do. We started introducing prepaid phone cards, then moved to gift cards, and now we've expanded into all types of payments as well as emerging technology solutions. And some of those solutions are, mobile wallets, QR codes, blockchain, things like that. But the key things for us is that we're looking at innovation from multiple different angles. We look at it from an operational innovation. How can we reduce time? How can we reduce money and resource needs, especially in the COVID environment? There's less people working at particular jobs. There's many people changing jobs. And so we have to look at how the best way to leverage the resources that we have. And some of that may be operationalizing things instead of using human resources for it. We also look at it from a product perspective, so product innovation. We have numerous products, and we're constantly looking at how customers use them and how we can improve those products. So that includes adding features and services that the customers need and want. Examples of that would be InComm expanded into lottery, into tolling and transit, and most recently into crypto payments. That's all being driven by consumer needs and wants. And then lastly is emerging markets and technologies. Our customers are constantly coming to us and asking us to help educate them on what is the next big thing? Where do we need to focus our time? What do we need to be aware of so that we're not disintermediated? And so we're innovating here in Go Studio in those specific areas. We're looking at 3 to 5 years out. And what are those things that customers are going to need at that particular point in time? So for us right now, it's looking at how do we diversify into new markets, new products, new services to keep the company relevant and ahead of the competition is really driving innovation.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know you mentioned several areas that sound like they might be quite disruptive in industry. Do you want to speak a little bit more about some of those projects?
Yeah, sure. So, two of the biggest projects that I've been involved with here at InComm Payments that have been disruptive to the industry are both lottery and tolling and transit. In both of those cases, InComm Payments wasn't initially in those markets, so we were expanding into them where there's inherent disruption. We were sort of the startup among the number of incumbents, so to speak, and we had to prove ourselves to everyone in the market that we could deliver on what we were saying. And, even more importantly, we had to deliver products that were as good or better than what was already in the market. Consumers have a long-standing history of using both transit and lottery and using cash as the mechanism to pay for it. And so they have expectations on how things will work, including, the payment process. And so our products had to be better. They had to be more convenient, and they had to be easier to use. And so InComm had to develop processes and technologies for selling those products and for the customers to be able to use those products in the real world environment and not just in a laboratory or test experience.
Right. Well, InComm has been very successful, certainly in those markets, and proven yourself, to take your words. But I'm sure the road there has not always been, anytime we're working in technology, we have successes and we have failures. So have you had any experience with some of the failures along the way? And how did you, can you discuss your experience and how did you recover from those?
Well, I think from Go Studio's perspective, we try not to talk in relation to successes and failures, because that's of course part of the natural process of how things go. But our teams have to have the room to research and experiment with things without having a large ROI or mandates over their heads. InComm has 417 patents. 4 of those have come out of Go Studio. But we have lots of innovative ideas far beyond those patents. Not all those ideas have, of course, translated into commercial products or patentable technology, but that didn't necessarily take off in those products may not have taken off in the traditional sense, but they were all still successful in their own way. What I like to say is that every single one of those ideas was a learning experience. We sort of learned through the process of what customers like, what they didn't like, what the market will bear, and who the competitors are, or whether the technology would work or didn't work. And the team upskills every time that we go through a project. Go Studios is working with emerging technologies, and not all of those are, things that people understand or know. And so we have to go out and build experiments. We call them 0.1s, and that helps build a toolbox of solutions and skills that allows us to jump right away when our clients' needs arise in a particular area. So the most important thing for us is to move quickly. Learn, determine need and interest, and make a decision or pivot. We're not afraid to fail fast. So failure is, of course, part of the process as well. But what that means is that we could kill a project to save time or money, or possibly even shelve it for possible future use in order to keep moving forward at the pace that we need to move. We've had projects in things like blockchain that we've actually gone out and researched the project. We built it. We've talked with people in the industry and come back to make the decision that, hey, it's not the right time and we need to put this off to the side. Our executive team, is very supportive of those things, because maybe it's 10 years down the line that comes back up and we're able to pull that off of the shelf. If you think about it, there's hundreds, thousands, millions of ideas and IP that are developed around the world, but either the current technologies can't meet the technical requirements, or customers aren't aligned with the adoption needs at inception. So sometimes things sit for years before large-scale commercial rollout or success happens. If you think about mobile payments, they were developed in the late 90s to early 2000, but didn't really take hold until recent years. In some places, weren't adopted heavily until they were jump-started by the pandemic. So as I mentioned earlier, InComm Payments has a long-standing, well-documented history of innovation, and Go Studio is representative of that. In fact, we recently converted a number of ideas into patent applications, and we continually look for adding more to that list.
Well, that's really wonderful, and yes, I do agree with you that failure is one of those things in technology that we just use as a really great learning experience to get to the next big thing and figure out, well, that didn't work, so what will work? So I think we have time for one more question, and I really wanted to ask this. So, InComm Payments has made the decision to open up Go Studio, and you're involved in these emerging technologies. What do you see as a stumbling block for other organizations in implementing and getting into this space for emerging technologies or innovation?
Well, I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks, and even we get tied up into it, is that companies focus on the technology first versus the problem that they're trying to solve. So the tech always gets all the hype because it's always fun to go out and experiment with new technologies, especially the stuff that our team gets to work with, which is highly cutting edge. But there may be existing tech or simpler ways to solve a specific challenge, and maybe even a low tech or no tech solution might actually be there. Another challenge is not taking the end user into consideration and the human factors which might impact the outcome. So you have to talk to your target users and learn how they're using the product or the service. What are their motivations? What are their needs? And most importantly, identify what the actual problem is. So many people start down a path and they don't actually know what problem they're trying to solve. So they can't ensure that the solution actually meets the customer's needs at the end of the day. We in Go Studio, we use many different frameworks, problem framing, design thinking, and other tools to help frame up the problem and then get to a particular solution that solves that particular problem. And lastly, in a larger organization, it's critical to have business owners engaged in the process early. These are the parties who will need to buy into the end results of the project and ultimately promote and sell the solution to the world. If they don't understand the problem or the solution or believe in the solution or have a stake in the project, you might have much higher chance of stumbling in a particular project. And ultimately, when you have an innovation center, the goal is for you to do the research, get to an idea, and then pass it off to someone so that you can move on to the next thing. So if you don't have those people bought in, it's a lot harder to hand it off. You end up getting stuck with that project for basically for a very long time.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, it certainly sounds like InComm Payments and Go Studio has something going on right there, since with the number of patents and great projects that you guys have been able to pull off and disrupt industries and make customers happier in the end. So really thank you for taking the time to talk about your story here with us today. And we look forward to seeing that next big thing.
Thank you. We look forward to working with KSU on future projects.